This is Daybreak on Trust TV. It's time to move straight ahead to our discussion segment. And today we're diving into a topic on everyone's mind, which of course, cost of living. And in particular, whether Nigeria's recent drop in inflation is actually bringing relief. Now, according to the latest Consumer Price Index from the National Bureau of Statistics, headline inflation eased to 16.05% in October, its lowest level in more than 3 years. Now, that's a sizable drop from September's 18.02%, and on paper, it feels like a win for macroeconomic stability. Now, however, monthly inflation remains sticky, and many households say they are not seeing real relief in their markets, with stable prices still painfully high. Now, leaders in the private sector have welcomed the easing rate, but they warn that structural issues in food supply, transport, energy, and housing are preventing Nigerians from truly benefiting. An economist also cautioned that statistical changes to the CPI base year may be painting a rosier picture than what people are experiencing on ground. Now, to help us make sense of this, we're joined this morning by Deyemi Saka, political economist and security expert. He will be helping us to make sense of this. He is a public affairs analyst, and independent intelligence analyst, and public relations consultant in Nigeria. Deyemi, thank you for joining us this morning. Good to have you on Daybreak this morning.
Nice to be here, Maimuna. I got it right?
Yes, Maimuna, actually, without the T.
Without the T.
Absolutely. All right, thank you. So let's move straight ahead. We're looking at inflation, and as we saw, according to reports, that inflation has fallen from over 24% to around 18%. But then what we keep seeing is the prices of foodstuff in the market are still high. We talk about foodstuff, we talk about electricity, we talk about transportation, we talk about house rent, which is a basic necessity for every Nigerian. But then we still see these things are still on the rise. What exactly is the problem?
Well, I have a background in mathematical sciences. And I think it was my 200 level, 200 level, we did two courses, abstract algebra and real analysis. Abstract algebra is something that's abstract, that you cannot, quantify or feel. It's just in layman's word. The real analysis is, analysis of real time, real events, and what have you. On paper, and we should commend it, because on paper the report about the economy was disastrous, and now we're having good reports. So abstractly, the country is moving forward. Okay. In the real life, in real analysis, it's still, we're still a far cry from where Nigerians want to be or desire to be. The reality on ground is, divergent, or there's a chasm between the reality on ground and the abstract, reports we're having. But the good thing is, it's symbolic that there's hope for Nigeria. The economy is really turning around. On October 1st, this year, I was on another platform, and they're analyzing the President's Independence Day speech and what have you. And when we looked at the economy, as at October 2025, using the current exchange rate, the capital market has gained 200 billion naira more than what they gained 2022, the same period, using the exchange rate then. When people were saying, and the co-panelists were arguing that, well, it could be on paper, but the people are not. And I asked a simple question. The capital market, if the consumers don't have the purchasing power, it won't reflect in their earnings. So whether we like it or not, we must tell ourselves the truth and accept it when the economy is moving forward or taking a bounce, for good or, for strength. Now, price of foodstuff in markets in some places are dropping. I don't know whatever policies. I cannot tell, as a matter of fact, thump my chest and say, these are the policies the government has implemented when it comes to agriculture, food security, and what have you, that brought or forced the price to come down, prices to be coming down. But whatever initiative we've seen prices of a bag of rice from Lagos drop as much as from 120, 110 now to 50-something thousand.
You mean foreign rice?
Yeah, foreign rice, and what have you. So we look at, and this is not me trying to blame the victim, but we should look at the greed in an average Nigerian. When somebody was telling me that there's a popular market in my 12, the bag of rice goes for like 56,000 naira. I called the guy on my street, asked him how much the bag of rice. The guy was still saying 74,000 naira. And the reason we can't have the desired effect as we want is that we can't have a price control in a democracy, because democracy brings about free market.
But then when the free market is, affecting the daily lives of every Nigerian, don't you think that, somewhat of a sensible regulation should be put in place?
No, but you see, that's the beauty of democracy. It gives you the free will to make choices. But we probably should ask the government to do more in terms of intervention. Okay, what's your market? What's your own market for Nigerians? If these entrepreneurs want to exploit the masses, what do you do? Another instance you probably want to ask yourself is this. We talked about housing. The last time I checked, we had 21 million housing deficit in Nigeria. The government has not really done anything in the last 10 years. It was out. Everything they've just been on paper. But if the government has an intervention, let's say in Lagos, in Abuja, in Port Harcourt, that has
but there are some housing intervention, the renewed hope housing intervention.
Yeah, I'm coming, but that you probably have like, you could come up with 100 units of homes. It doesn't have to be terrace apartments. It could just be what you could call a council flat. If the government comes with a policy of monthly payments, whether you like it or not, a lot of people that will get on that scheme will shrink the market of other commercial landlords or what have you, and they'll be forced to either review or check tactics or review their price downward or review how they come up with the yearly rents formats and things. So we should ask the government for more policies, markets, and what the Ministry of Agriculture. I when you talk about food security, a lot of people just limit our food security to farming, harvesting, and selling, or cultivation, harvesting, and selling. But we forget one critical part, that in the supply chain of food security, there is storage, there is processing.
Absolutely.
And the processing and that, the value chain is quite expensive. But imagine how Cote d'Ivoire, probably the largest exporter of cocoa, is not making as much money as probably France or Switzerland that produce chocolates. So we should invest more in the value chain system. And as much as we want to do that, we should not shy away from the truth. The insecurity across the country, it limits you in terms of investment, in terms of taking the risk, citing it somewhere. So it's a whole complex situation why Nigerians have not seen the effects of the policies and what have you. The policies are, at least based on paper, are good. And we can't say anything about it. We can't dispute it. If the country was bankrupt, Nigeria is now listed. We are now, we are admitted into international capital market. We were expelled during the 8 years of Maimuna Bagudu. This is not me getting personal, but that's the truth. So if there's no confidence in our capital market, if there's no confidence in our financial rating as a country, if there's no confidence in the economic reforms by either those that dictate it to us and those that are observing, we won't be readmitted to the capital market. We won't be having such positive ratings. The Naira will not be gaining strength day by day.
All right, talking about, observing and dictating the market and what have you. If you look at the base year for the CPI, it was changed from 2009 to 2004, meaning that, the way inflation has been calculated has been changed. But then Nigerians have their doubts, because when you see this, it shows that on paper, it looks beautiful. But in reality, it's still the way it is. Now, Nigerians are in doubt concerning what they want to know, if really inflation is really dropping, because things are not getting easy. Or does it only look like it's dropping because of the new calculations?
No, I don't think it's dropping because of the new calculations. Whether we like it or not, I've heard people in the sector, in the industry, telling us that we now sell more oil. We sell more crude. We've increased. We're trying to, probably push up to our OPEC quota. We're meeting up with them. So, if you have more earnings, and whether people say it on paper or in real sense, you are not. I saw something that happened in 2022 to 2023 that made me almost lose my mind. The 2023 budget around December 2022 was said to be around 250. No, I think 2022 It was set to be 250 billion naira for subsidy, payment of subsidy in 2022. From 250, it became 450. From 450, the next thing I saw was 1.3 trillion. From 1.3 trillion, the next figure I started seeing was 4.1 trillion naira. So, 4.1 trillion naira is almost a third, or more than a third of our budget, present budget. So, if you are not spending that much or borrowing to spend that much on subsidy, the government has more funds to play with. The states are getting more monies than they used to. Yes, you probably could argue that the exchange rate and the inflation rate has probably would amount to nothing in terms of differential when it comes to what they were earning and what they could do with it and what they could do with it now. But like you said, there's this massive turnaround in the economy. We would not feel the effect because the first thing you need to do is
it that we will not feel the effect
immediately?
Now, okay,
yeah, that's what I'm going to say. You won't feel the effect immediately because it's just a turnaround. Yes, we're dealing with this. It's just somebody having malaria, dealing with malaria. The person takes his medication and goes for treatment. The person will not get back on his feet instantly.
But you know, when you're using malaria to measure that of the present day,
no, I'm not trying to be insensitive.
Malaria can take you can take 5 days or 1 week.
It's just the process. It's just because once you get the medication, now you're treating the symptoms and the virus or whatever causing the malaria, the parasite. It's off. It now takes you a while for you to get back to your full strength and regain your stamina and what have you. So let's believe that maybe a year or two, the government will probably have a lot of things to brag with. But no matter what the government achieves, no matter what they could do in terms of economy, to still be doubted, I will still be questioned when insecurity is probably going to drown it, or probably going to taint the achievements, or probably going to question it.
Okay, when you look at each time we talk about inflation, Nigerians will always point to food, transportation, electricity, school fees, cost of living, which of course we know that. But then when you look at the business side, you realize that, large companies can adjust prices and survive. But then for the average Nigeria that earns 50,000 naira a month, 100,000 naira a month, still have that, they still feel the pressure. So why is it that the relief is not reaching the low and middle income Nigerians? And out of all of this, who benefits more? Is it, the people in business that can, bear the risk and still earn more, or the average Nigeria that is still earning a little, but then the prices of things are still high in the market?
I think Nigerians should be truthful to ourselves and ask ourselves a truthful question. What do we really want? Nigerians are demanding for welfareism, a bit of socialism, in a brand of government or a type of government that breeds capitalism.
Why do you say so?
Yeah, because democracy all over the world promotes capitalism. And whether we like it or not, capitalism is exploitative. It's not charitable. It's not with no intent of disrespect. It's not United Nations or Red Cross. Capitalism, and every capitalist is out there to make profits, do business in briefcase. Democracy promotes briefcase entrepreneurs more than anything. And the kind of interventions, the kind of efforts we're demanding for our government doesn't tally with the type of government we're running. If Nigeria is running like a socialist government or like communism, we can blame the government for everything. We can even call the government to do everything and to ask questions. If things are failing, we can. But if government comes up with economic policies and whatever, capitalist is not coming there to render services as a charity. It's trying to say as much profit it could make, render this service. If you like, you can give your service for 10 naira. A capitalist will say, why should I make 10 naira when I can make 1,000 naira? That's how an average capitalist is, and that is what democracy promotes. So, the governance or the type of government we're practicing makes it difficult for us to get the type of governance we're demanding for our public office holders. And that's the bitter truth.
So I'm going to take you back to, the analysis you used when you're treating malaria and, patience Nigerians should have when it comes to this inflation. But then when you look at the government policy in terms of addressing inflation, is it that the government is not addressing the root cause of, high cost of living, or the government is just treating the symptoms?
No, I wouldn't say the government is just treating the symptoms. I probably would. The government made a policy, took a policy position, and a lot of Nigerians probably did not know why. Apart from the fact of devaluing the naira to make the naira have its real value, it was also to cut source of funding to terrorism. That was the removal of subsidy on forex. Yes, why the government did that, scored a high point doing that, the follow-up actions is not there. Because they've cut the source of fundings to these guys, and they need to get funds to sustain their operations and to stay relevant and what have you. That brought about the upsurge in kidnappings and criminality we see now in the country, because they need to make money. And you probably people want to question my analysis of rationale for saying that if at one point the former AGF of this country was trying to link Bureau de change to funding of terrorism, if the list we go for United Arab Emirates was as of which they claim was the content the list of or the names of sponsors of terrorism and Boko Haram, which were fully Bureau de change operators, that move was a smart move by the government. But there's also in everything, oftentimes when things like this fail or it's not having its desired result or effect, there's a weak link in it, and I probably pray that the president appreciates or identify the weak link and remove him, and things get better. But back to what we're saying, it's not as if it's a total bad case for us with capitalism. There's some people that still want to play. There are some people that are not greedy, that are just comfortable with what they make. About this is enough for me, and so far you have those players in the market. And you have government interventions as well, either through its open markets or what have you. When I mean open market, I'm talking about the stock exchange now, but I'm talking open market like your foodstuff markets, your farmers markets, and initiatives like that. The capitalists were forced to, adjust the profit drive. Same with intervention in housing, same with intervention with transportation. You see, transportation is key.
Absolutely.
To any, it's the key, one of the, apart from, that's one of the best infrastructure, the most important infrastructure when it comes to economic development. Because you have to move people, you have to move goods and services in real time. And that is, I think we need to invest more in rail. Not just, interstate rail lines, we have to invest more in intrastate rail lines. We need to invest more in the bus schemes. I don't know how they want to do it. The alien cabs, I don't know how they want to do it. So far there is a structured government, effort in those things, not like the government wants to take control of everything, but play a role. It forces the private investors or the profit-driven investors to come down a bit and be reasonable with their expectations. And that is it for me.
So talking about investment, which is one thing that I know every Nigerian will love for the federal government to put in their focus and the energy on. In your own perspective, what are those key areas that the government can invest in as of today? Well,
real time that could probably give us one or two things is fast results. The first one is transportation. That's more you can roll out a scheme, and in 3 months people are seeing the effects. The other one should be housing. We have somewhere that's on the 4 local governments. If the states, if the federal government or the federal mortgage housing, whatever, the FHA or what have you, the Federal Housing Authority,
Federal Housing Authority,
and the housing mortgage comes up with an initiative that for every local government wants to have a 1,000 units of homes, from a single room to a maximum a 2-bedroom. There are some that will fall in elitist area.
Absolutely.
There are some that will fall in middle class, which people say has been obliterated, but I still believe it's still there. And people can live anywhere. and you collect what you reckon will build other units or probably another phase and what have you. Such interventions will take away the burden on the earnings of the people. The government comes up with a credit scheme. I heard there's a credit scheme in place too. That could also help Nigerians, but the student loan is another fantastic thing, because what has this huge dent or pull on people's earnings out, how much to raise funds or tuition for their kids in school. Yeah. So the student loan is there, and if what you have is just to imagine, as the government has come with a housing scheme, has come with a transportation scheme, and the student loan is there and has an alternative market for farm produce.
You think that will be fantastic? All right, let's look at the exchange rate stability. Can we really trust the current exchange rate stability, or is it just temporary?
I don't think it's temporary. I think it's come to stay. But I don't know why. I think I know why. I think we need to look beyond crude oil and every other thing. We need to really diversify the economy. And we could do one or two things that could just give our naira strength and force the current exchange rate down if we earn more.
Like what?
Just look into our solid minerals. I think everything we'll be talking about, the discussion of the economy or extractive industry, has not been purposeful, has not been intentional. I think everybody just comes there, make that pronouncement and don't see it to the end. I think from what we heard of the gold in Zamfara to Kaduna to Kogi to Niger and some other solid minerals, coupled with what we make from crude oil, we give our naira, we earn more. And once you earn more, your local currency gains strength. And that is it.
All right, so how much of this inflation drop is due to government reforms versus external factors like, of course, global food prices? Are we giving government too much credit for a decline that may not be domestically driven?
No, it is domestically driven, and I'll say that when the last time we had the global effect on our economy was negative, despite the Russia-Ukraine war. I won't call it crisis, where almost everything that comes from Europe was in Ukraine. And we should, I don't know, I don't know. I think, as a matter of fact, the government has done well when it comes to economic policies. How soon it will get to the people is what the government should be thinking right now.
So are we saying that there's a disconnect between, the communication between the government and the people? Because Nigerians are saying that it seems that the government is not accepting the realities on ground. They are the ones going to the market. They are the ones buying those food items. They are the ones paying for electricity bills. They're the ones paying for transportation, And is it that there's a disconnection when it comes to communicating?
Yeah, the information managers of this administration has been helpful. It's with some few exceptions. They've been totally helpful. They speak with so much condescension, arrogance, and anger. You can't even pick out, you can't make out sense in what they're saying, except to just say someone that is extremely biful, vile, angry, antagonistic, attacking people, But with better information managers, you could earn the trust of the people, you could carry them along.
Now let's look and talk about the salaries of people. I mean, it is another major issue because people are still earning, the same amount they've been earning for, let's say, 2 years, and then they still have to pay higher when they buy these items in the market or they want to pay for their services. Why do you think salaries are still the way they are?
No, I think we've talked about a new minimum with 70,000 naira.
But what can 70,000 naira get for a family person in this present day Nigeria?
I think this minimum wage, and let's face it, the minimum wage, looking at the civil service structure, I think that starts from level 3 or there about level 4. I think any right-thinking person should not have 5 kids, 3 kids on that salary. I'm coming.
Okay.
And at that level, the way the civil service is structured, is not expected to have a family man at that cadre. But the sad reality is you have family men on that cadre. You have private companies that are not even willing to pay the minimum wage. And all of us go to the same market. the best way and the only way the salary could be of any effect and any positive, impact on any household or family is by the time the naira start gaining strength, inflation starts dropping, and prices start dropping, which at the end of the day will increase the purchasing power of the people. And that is the only way forward. And we cannot achieve that if we don't peg insecurity to what it should be, the level it should be, if we don't have, and if we don't entrench a systemic, robust food security in place, if we don't have government intervention and investment in public infrastructure, and as well public safety, because if there's no public safety, investors are not coming. So everything is interconnected. So as much as the economic policies are working, the under indices that that makes us calculate, evaluate, or the progress and achievements of this administration or any government should also be improving. And that's
now, still talking about salaries and minimum wage, I wanted to interject you there, but I understand that you want to finish up so that the viewers can be able to understand. When you look at the youths, for example, because you are saying that for a particular cadre in the civil service, we're not expecting he or she to be married or have 5 kids, but then we have youths that are still in that cadre that are not married, and they have to pay their house rents, they have to pay their electricity bills, they have to pay their transportations, and most times we see that where these people live from where they work, it's quite a distance, and then they have to pay higher. So if we're talking about being minimizing or being planned according to that minimum wage and your salary, and you would even agree with me that some states are yet to start paying the minimum wage,
and that is annoying.
Very annoying, So these are, questions that Nigerians are asking, that if this continues, really, what we're seeing on paper, is it really true? But then let's move to the solutions right now, because we're done, asking the questions and what we need to do. But then let's look at, what do you think the government can do now to make the inflation drop reflect in the daily lives of Nigerians?
Well, although some people are being paid for that job, the question you're asking me, because some people are paid to do the thinking for the president, but I think the first thing we need to do, we need to have an accurate census figure to plan with.
Okay.
We need to conduct a census that will be a true reflection of our populations and the distribution of our population across regions, states, demographies, and what have you. If you have a semblance of accurate census figure, you have something close to accurate data to plan with. United Kingdom is planning, they have plans in place for 2030, 2050. I think to 2050. We can't have any plan because we cannot even calculate how our population is growing. At one point, you had 200, 150 million. Okay. At some point, we just had 250 million. Now we're hearing 280 million. I wish we were even up to 200 million.
At the end of the day, so I think we need to carry out another census to find out if...
And please, our political class should be sincere. This is not the time to influence the process, to have larger figures because we want to claim more resources. Because if we keep having everybody comes to that event or that exercise with political interest and mischief, it will still take us nowhere.
All right. Time is against us. Thank you so much, Deyemi Saka, a public affairs analyst, independent intelligence analyst, and public relations consultant in Nigeria. Thank you for coming in this morning to help us unpack the topic.
No, you're doing unpacked. I'm trying to help you inbox it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. And that is all we have for you this morning for our discussion segment.